Hey everyone, welcome. This is Eternally Fit. I'm Denise, and this is where we share stories from the Bible as well as just people like you and I. So Brandy has someone to introduce today.
All right, we have our first guest speaker. I've known him for quite a while. His cousin was my best friend in high school, still one of my close friends, but he has an awesome story. So this is Dustin Cox, and I'll let him start out his story.
Well, thank you for guys having me on the podcast. I appreciate it. So I've known Brandy a lot of my life, pretty much most of my life, and I grew up. So I'm from Wyoming. I grew up in Southwest Wyoming, and I got paralyzed when I was 26 years old. So that's kind of how it started for me.
Mm.
But we grew up though, like with Brandy, we have close family and friends. We grew up with just being we did 4-H together, lots of things like that. So
Well, and you know what's crazy is my husband, Nick, you guys were played in a 3-on-3 tournament against each other before
yeah,
you got paralyzed.
yeah,
So all ties it
yeah.
together.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess going forward before I get in my story, I was gonna say like that's where my life starts is just I'm a normal guy from Wyoming and everything was going good. It's just a good life, And then it was actually on August 26th, 2010. I was at work that day and everything was going fine. And I head over to Rock Springs. That's a nearby town. I was doing some work, but on my way back home in the car, I had a blowout in my tire. And the thing about that is I always tell the story, but I've had blowouts before. I've had flat tires, and usually you pull over to the side of the road and you fix them. But that day, when my tire blew out, it sucked my car into the median, and I got
Well,
caught in that
real
cable
quick,
fencing.
Dustin, didn't you have somebody that worked with told you needed to get that tire fixed before you left?
So there's those back up before I was headed back there. So that was our work van. I worked for my dad, and my dad even said, I need to get new tires put on that. I just kept postponing it. But before I left the shop that morning, my coworker was like, "Hey, Dustin, the front tires are now a little bit low." And that same day, though, I had snow checked a new snow machine. I ordered a brand new truck, so I was going to pay for that, get that taken care of. So I had a lot of things that I was focused on, and I go high in sight and like, I should have been more proactive and taking care of that tire and got it fixed. But with all those things, I mean, that's just kind of what happened. And I could have things that could have, those were signs and signals, I guess, that I should have listened to. And, I brushed off. But yeah, I mean, there was lots of signs. But then, like I said, when I was coming down back from Rock Springs when the tire blew out, it sucked me into the median. And I got caught in that cable fencing that separates the highways.
Mm.
And it rolled the vehicle over. And unfortunately, because I wasn't wearing a seatbelt, I got ejected out the window. So that's where it all started. But yeah, like Brandy was said, it was there was lots of things that I think people that's when I was telling my story, I think people every day we all have, I don't know if you want to call them signs, or there are things that could prevent things happening in your life. It's just a matter of listening and finding those things. But also, I mean, you can't go back and change things. When things happen, it's just how it is. Because when I got paralyzed after that car accident, not only did I have a broken back, I had 4 broken ribs. I broke my sternum. I shattered my left elbow. Both my lungs had collapsed, and I was suffering from a traumatic brain injury.
Mm. Who came up on the scene?
So after the rollover, there was a highway patrolman who actually wasn't too far behind me, and he pulls up behind the car, obviously, gets traffic stopped, and he made a call for the ambulance, and he actually called our shop where I worked at, and my brother was the one who received that call. And as soon as he found out that there had been a car accident, my brother knew it was me because I was the one who was in Rock Springs. So he got in his truck. He heads to the scene of the accident. He's passing, gets to the on the freeway, and all the traffic stops. So he gets on the shoulder. He's passing all the stopped traffic. And he said when he got there, he was walking up past the car or the van that I had rolled. He said there was debris all over the place. The van was smashed. And when he walks up past it on the side of the road, I'm laying on the side of on the highway right there. And he said that I was covered in white dust. Like my whole body was covered in white dust from head to toe. I was bleeding out of my ears, my nose, my mouth.
Oh my
And he
God.
said I was just making this horrific sound, just struggling trying to breathe. And he kneeled beside me and he waited there with me for the ambulance to get there.
Wow.
Okay.
So then they after that they take me to Rock Spring Memorial Hospital, and I had to get life flighted to Salt Lake City, and that's where my process started.
Oh, that's where it started.
And
It
I'm
sounds like it started with the tire.
Yeah, it did start with the tire. There's a lot, but that's where. So in Salt Lake City, so I was in the hospital there for almost 9 months,
Oh, I didn't
and
realize it was that long.
yeah, so I had in the hospital after I went through like numerous surgeries. I had countless surgeries. Like I said, my elbow, you can see it's a fake elbow, and I've shattered it from here up there. I don't know if you can see my trach. You can see that trach scar. I had trach, but I had chest tubes. I had a feed tube. When I was in the hospital, when I left, actually, I'd lost weight. I went down to 113 pounds is when I got out.
And how much were you
Um,
for?
175, 180.
oh my
So lost all that weight, and then my injury, like I'm paralyzed right at the nipple line. So I have no core muscle. Plus being weak with my elbow and my whole body. I mean, when I got discharged from the hospital, the the life that I had was ruined. I mean, because I used to before that, I loved to snow machine. I loved to hunt, fish. I loved to go out to the lake. I had motorcycles. I mean, I lived my life like a just an outdoors. I love the outdoors, and that was my life.
Hmm.
And after being paralyzed, it was like everything changed for me. And then again, like I was saying, being that weak and having to relearn how to get dressed, how to live your life. I had lost at the very beginning. I lost control of my bowels, my bladder. So I mean, just a nightmare as far as trying to live my life at 26 years old,
Right.
and trying to relive it. Like I actually, when I got discharged, I I moved. Well, I came back home to Wyoming, but I had to live with my parents because my house wasn't accessible. I couldn't. It was just the nightmares that I've had growing from that were just something that people can't really prepare for.
Oh yeah. What about so when I remember I've heard your story so many times and I love it every single time. But what about in the hospital when you first kind of came to and realized that you were paralyzed? Like what walk us through that.
So the crazy part was I was, with my brain injury and everything, and then so I don't have memory really till I wrecked August 26th, and then I know it was sometime in October that I actually can start remembering things.
Okay.
But I would have family and friends, and they would always, a lot of people came and see me, and they'd be like, "Oh man, Dustin, you're doing great. You look like you're doing awesome, man. We're proud of you." And my dad, my family, they were always like, "Dustin, you're doing great. You're gonna walk out of here." And at first it was like, I was in so much pain, and I was in a body cast basically in my elbow, so everywhere I was getting transferred by people, this and that, and I do therapy, but therapy was so just moving me around, and I was so weak. But as I started to come around to things, that's when I started to realize there was a question because people would be like, "Oh man, we know you're gonna walk again," and I'm like, "All right," I knew something was different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew it. So, but every day in my hospital room, my physical therapist and my doctor, they would come to my room and we would talk about things that I'd worked on and things that I'm going to start doing in the future. So that's when I found out. I asked my doctor. I said, "Hey, what are the chances? When are we going to start working on getting me out of this wheelchair?" And he's just like, "Dustin, man, unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen."
Mm.
And so I don't know. I took a deep breath and I looked at him and I was like, "What are the chances of me walking again?" And he goes, "Dustin," he goes, "man, you're paralyzed. You're never going to walk or stand again." And that's when I heard it for the first time, that I realized that, you know, my life was going to be changed forever.
Mm.
And that's not like, that's not even right now. Like when I say it like that, it's like I get chills when I think it like that, because it's not words you can prepare to hear, but it's also, even now, it's like, I hate being in a wheelchair, man. I hate it. It's not like, it's not, I say that to people all the time. It's like, I hate every day getting into a wheelchair. I mean, I love my life, and it like, where I've grown from that day, it's like the wheelchair doesn't define my challenge, my struggle. And I think that's like anybody else. We all have adversity, we all have challenges, but with if you let that define who you are, you can't let it do that. And that took me years and years and years and a lot of painful struggles and moving and going places I didn't want to and having I got stories that are nightmares. I mean, it's just a rough life to get there, but you know, I'm so blessed and happy that I am the person I am today. I mean, but it was not easy to get that way.
But I feel like you're still changing. I think everybody still grows. Like you said, you hate the wheelchair, but
Yeah,
you're not letting it define you. But you're still dealing with struggles, and I think everybody deals with struggles. Not
yeah,
the same.
yeah, yeah. No, like it's the struggles of I am in a wheelchair and I'm paralyzed still, but there's still things that I have to do to keep moving forward. Even though it's like, yeah, it's not that I want to do things. Certain things I have to work on with my health, my because there's a lot of complications that I deal with just besides being paralyzed, and it's just like you said, I think everybody has them. It's just about having how the mindset and that the attitude to keep pushing forward. You know,
Absolutely. And I
oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry,
I was
I
just
was.
going to say, I just love how you are willing to share your story because that helps other people. And just to be
Yeah.
able to, maybe they can't relate to you exactly, but there's a part of your story that they can relate to. And that's really cool. And I just need to show your book
Oh,
here
thank you.
because I have not had a chance to read it yet. I need to get glasses, but once I get those, I'm planning to read this. But I mean, look what he did because of what he's been through. This is so awesome that he has this out there to help others. So,
Oh,
I did read his book, and I do have a question for it later. But I want you to get to.
okay.
I want to get you to get
yeah.
to your other part of your story.
Okay. Well, no, I was going to say actually, as I was just talking about that as we were saying, when I was in the hospital and going through all my struggles and learning this thing. One question they always asked me is, because I had to see therapists, I had to see counselors and all that kind of stuff, and they always said, you know, during this process, um, you know, have I ever thought of, taking my life or wanting to kill myself? Or another one they said is, did I blame God or did I ever hate God for that? And one of those are a couple things that I said for me is one, my mindset, like I've never wanted to kill myself. Did I think want to like, that I'm better off dead? Yeah. That I like, it's like, but to ever take my own life, no, I didn't have that thought. But I also, with God, that's one thing that I can honestly say that even in my darkest hours and time of need, I've always thanked God for helping me get through what I've been through instead of like, blaming him for the struggles, because there are times where there were some days where I didn't think it'd get any worse. And, I was embarrassed. I've had embarrassing just struggles of every reason to give up. And, you know, I believe that, God has helped me just continue to, have a reason to believe in him and know what my life is about and, who I'm living for. And just, that's where, you know, I feel like that my faith in God is really what I believe helped me and what still continues this day to help me get through all my struggles, is because, that I wouldn't be able to get through here without my faith in him.
Oh, I love that, Dustin. So a lot of people would say that they would blame God. Why would God allow this to happen, or why would God cause that to happen?
And that's how they said that. When I talked to a counselor, it's really weird because they almost like pitch it to me as like, are you mad at God for allowing this to happen? And I'm like, no, I'm I thank God that I woke up this morning with the air in my lungs, that I'm still here. I'm blessed for my life, and it's like, there's that's my take on it. Like you said, I mean, people say they want to blame God, they want to blame other people and things like that, but I'm grateful and I'm thankful for my life and every everything that I have. I'm
Hmm.
so
And I truly do believe God will find a way to bring good out of a bad situation every time if you let him.
yeah, and like you were saying, Denise, like something that I thought about was, I mean, just now with my story, I actually do enjoy telling my story. Like I don't have any vulnerable spots. I love telling my vulnerable spots of my life because I feel like that if it can make a positive impact on somebody else or change their life or the struggles they're going through, like, we obviously all have different uh, types of adversity, different types of challenges. But if I can use my story to help somebody get through theirs, that means a lot to me because I have been through rough patches of my own life, and I can relate to it in myself. And so if me telling my story helps somebody else just you know get through the next day, then that it was worth it for me to share my story.
You're so right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's kind of the beginning and start of my life is after I got paralyzed, and then
Oh, I like what you
man,
just
it's just
said. So once you got paralyzed, that was the start or the beginning of your life.
yeah. Well, like of a new chapter, like I said, everything that I had to give up, like I mean, I had friends, I have family that all still love and support you, but my life was changed, especially if I wanted to if I wanted to move forward with my life, I had to make huge changes. I had to move from Wyoming. Because I had to go to a place where I could get therapy that was focused on spinal cord injuries. So, I was giving up things. And also, like, I used to snow machine, I used to hunt, which I'm getting back into that, but it was nothing like how it used to be. So everything's kind of altered and changed in that way. And I've had to, relive I don't say a new life, but it was just like, it's a new chapter that, I wasn't ready to start, but that's the only way for me to keep moving forward is, you know,
Right.
keep doing that.
No, I think that's a great outlook. So then what happened after that?
So after when I got discharged from the hospital, moved back home, I was here for a few months, and then that's when I decided to move to Salt Lake City, where I could do therapy that was focused on spinal cord injuries.
Yeah.
And during that process, that was just a long, miserable process because learning. I mean, it was occupational and physical therapy, so I'm getting my strength back. But I mean, everything to learning your bathroom skills to getting dressed to driving a car to transferring to. I mean, it's just you feel like I felt like I started over like I was 2 years old, 3 years old. I mean, and it's just
And it was probably exhausting, I would think.
it was exhausting, but it's also it's mentally exhausting, like trying to. So I used to when I first got paralyzed. Let's say first when I got paralyzed and I was doing therapy, I I would get dressed in bed. Now I can get dressed in my wheelchair. I can get dressed anywhere. But like I said, I'm paralyzed from the chest, so I don't have any core muscle. I don't have the mobility to do things. So I had to figure out how. I mean, there's a technique. It's like relearning this. But I would wake up in the morning and after I would go to the bathroom, shower, get my stuff ready. When I was getting ready to get dressed, I would put my clothes on my bed. I would transfer into my bed, and my dad actually he tied ropes around the frames of my bed so I could grab those things to help me roll from side to side. But that's how I would get dressed. I'd be in bed, rolling back and forth, getting dressed, and just the process of it was so humiliating. And like even like putting a shoe on, it was like trying to hold my foot up and trying to balance myself and tie a shoe, and then getting in my car. It's like transferring into my car, and then breaking down my wheelchair, bringing it in. I mean, that's a process by itself, and it used to take me a couple minutes. I mean, but we think if it takes you 2 or 3 minutes to do that, if I leave my house, it takes 2 or 3 minutes to get in the car, go to the gas station, 2 or 3 minutes to get out, go into the gas station, come back out, 2 or 3 minutes to get back in. It's like you're talking 25 minutes in transferring to go to the gas station. When you think it's
Mm-hmm.
that easy to run down and go grab a Coke or something. So, and then, just like with my wheelchair skills, insecurities of being in public and all that kind of stuff, there was just so much that I had to relearn with my life. And it was a long, long process. It was tough.
Yeah, I can't
So,
even.
I can't imagine. No.
no, and
You were big into sports and everything, like you said before, and then
yeah, yeah,
then to go to just try
that,
to figure out how to get dressed.
yeah, it's like, yeah, the things that it's like getting dressed, cooking, and like, I mean, when I say cooking and all that kind of stuff, it wasn't so much the process of knowing how to do it. It was how do I do it being paralyzed because, I can't hold both of my hands out in front of me at the same time without falling over. I don't have core muscle. I don't have back muscle. So being able to reach things, grab things off the shelves, and today I'm a lot more, you know, obviously things are easy for me, but it took years to get like that, and it was just yeah, it was a process. It's a struggle, and for me, fortunately, like what part really helped me out was I moved to Salt Lake. I did therapy there for about 9 months. And then during that same time, though, I applied for this spinal cord research that was going on. And it was a research thing that they had going on in Louisville, Kentucky. And they were looking for one more candidate. At this time, they only had 3 people in the world who's been in it. And they were looking for a fourth. And fortunately for me, I fit the protocol of what they needed. And when I got that phone call, they said, if you're willing to move to Louisville for the next 3 years, we want you to come be a part of it. And so that's what I did. I packed up,
What was
moved to
what
Louisville.
was some of the things that they were looking for? Like, what did they need?
Well, so the crazy part was they needed somebody who was paralyzed over a year, but under 2 years. They wanted somebody who was a T4, which is me. You had to be an Asia A complete. So basically, my entire injury fit is what they were looking for.
Oh gosh, okay. You
Yeah,
have to be
because
fit, I'm
so
guessing. Oh, you,
what's that?
you have to be fit.
Fit, I don't know that it fit because I wasn't fit. I mean, fit, I tried. So when I moved to Louisville, actually, I remember I probably weighed 130 something pounds,
Hmm.
130 something pounds, but I was still trying to. So I had a lot of fears. I had a lot of fears when I first got paralyzed because I wanted to gain my weight back, but like my mentally thing, just from whatever. But I also wanted to do it in a healthy way. I was kind of nervous of not being able to do things. I mean, you see guys in wheelchairs who are these athletes doing stuff like that, but I also see people in wheelchairs that get out of shape. And one thing that I learned when I was, that you go through these nutrition classes and stuff like that, but when you're in a wheelchair, it's easy to put on weight. I mean, you can't go for a run, you can't exercise, I can't do sit-ups, I can't do things like that. So dieting was a huge thing and putting on weight. Like my family was always trying to feed me Ensures and all that stuff because I looked so Ethiopian because I did. I was really scared of just getting out of shape in my wheelchair. But yeah, like to answer your question though, they wanted somebody. I think they were looking more for the type of my
Okay.
injury because it's all about science. I mean, they wanted someone who could be there financially and who was going to dedicate themselves to that research. I mean, as far as they were going to make me do what I had to do. Because it's all a part of that process. Because you're in a experiment, they're saying, okay, today if it takes 2 days or it takes 2 weeks, this is what we're going to
Right.
do. So that's kind of like how the process went.
Okay.
But yeah, there was a lot of commitments to it. But so what that research was, though, I'll tell you what about it. It's like they surgically implanted a stimulator on the back of my spinal cord. And what they found out with those other guys, and I got the same results, is when you turn on the stimulator, it allowed me to start moving my legs, my toes, my ankles, and this would increase my blood flow, my circulation, it would help my overall health. And so that was that was a huge part of just me, you know, getting to the next step of my chapter in my life. Moving to Louisville, I didn't have family, I don't have friends there. I was, you know, going down there, and so it really grew my
And
independence.
lo and
Getting my
behold,
health
I
back.
was only 5 hours away.
I know, I didn't know that. I went and saw
Yeah.
our cousin though all the
No,
time. Our cousin was
you
up
came
there.
to my house in near Canton.
Did I?
You did.
Did you have a swim pool?
No,
Maybe I
that's
can't
the
remember.
other idea.
I don't know.
I'll pull up some pictures and put them up there. Yeah.
You know
Becky
what?
was there.
I was Becky
She's
there?
there. Yeah.
Uh,
Handle.
yeah. Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. Back in Louisville, I was just I don't know. I was just on with my life, moving on. It was good. Yeah, it's crazy.
So they put that in there, and then so it helped your bowels, your bladder, your sexual function, everything, right?
Yeah, so I got regaining that, and then I also lost the ability to sweat. You lost the ability to my blood pressure. I mean, I'm not controlling it, but it helped basically my autonomic functions. Like when people think about someone who's paralyzed, they think that they can't walk, but man, there's so much more that that you can deal with on a daily basis that people don't realize. And and like I was saying before, just the way it helped me get my independence back. I mean, it was just it was the next step in my life with it was awesome.
Well, that sounds exciting. Hey, we're ready to hear that part.
That is awesome.
You're
We're
what?
ready to hear that part.
The exciting part of my
Yeah.
life? Yeah. So when I like I said, being down in that research, so I was the fourth person in the world to get that stimulator, but I became the first person in the world in that lab who was able to actually be able to stand up while using the
Oh, I
stimulator.
didn't.
And so, yeah, but that's what created more opportunity for me. That created opportunity for, I became a speaker for the Christopher Reeve Foundation with those guys helping, raise money for spinal cord injuries.
Mhm.
They raise money for spinal cord injuries, for research, but they help people who are in wheelchairs dealing with the, daily struggles. I mean, it's a huge, great foundation. So I got a lot of opportunity with them. I worked with Red Bull, Wings for Life. I mean, because Wings for Life is the guy who actually owns Red Bull. His best friend's son got paralyzed,
Oh, I didn't.
and they opened a foundation called Wings for Life. Yeah, and so they they raise money to find a cure, and that's an awesome foundation. It's just great for my opportunity to be a part of these you know foundations that are doing great things for people, but also trying to find a cure for a spinal cord injury. Obviously, me having one, I have a big passion for that. I'd love to have a complete cure, which is they're doing amazing things with it. So having that opportunity, just it was amazing for me. I got to take a full ride with it. It was so cool. So it was another thing that helped me get my independence back and believe in who I am, and it
So
just it's amazing.
do
I'm
you
sorry.
still use it?
Oh yeah, every day. Yeah, I mean, I use it all the time because it's like like I said, when I turn it on, I mean the bone density, the blood flow, just the circulation, all that. It's such a good benefit for my health that I mean that's why I just love it. So
Well, that's awesome. So after that, I don't know if Denise knows, but so Dustin he does have two kids. So I think that's another awesome thing
That's a
that
miracle.
yeah, came out.
yeah, yeah. Well, if you go back to, I mean, thinking of my life when it all happened, I mean, I never even thought about being able to have kids, get married. I didn't even think that was an option. Not an option, but I mean, my life was tough, and so I I did. I got married. I had two kids, and life was going great. But challenges they all keep coming. Because unfortunately for me too, I I'm going through a divorce, and actually been going through it for like the last year and a half. But I feel like it's very unfortunate, but there are things that you know I feel like I don't want to say I wasn't prepared for it, but I learned the only thing that I can do going through this is my attitude and how I'm going to go moving forward. I'm trying to do the best I can for our situation, for not just me, but my ex-wife. I mean, do the best things for her, for me, for the kids, because I want to try to make it a better situation for in this case for my kids, for my family. I want to try and make it the best I can. And so it goes all the way back to my, when I was in a spinal cord or when I got paralyzed, blaming other people or trying to make things worse isn't going to help out the situation. And it's another way in my life that I feel, just because I'm paralyzed, that's just not my only, it's not my only struggle. I have challenges like everybody else, finances, trying to relationships, finances, my life. It's just,
Parenting is a struggle all on its own.
yeah, it's tough. And
How
so,
old are your kids now?
so my daughter's 4, my son's 2. He turns 3 in April. So I have young
Oh,
kids, and it's
yeah,
tough,
busy.
that you're talking about. I mean, and I'm not going to try to say it's harder, but raising 2 kids while you're in a wheelchair, it's like I talk, I'll talk to my friends about, if we're talking about my life, and I like just to complain to get some, because they don't give me any sympathy. So I just like to complain about my life in a wheelchair, and you know, I'll sit there and I can tell you these stories like, oh, going out in the snow, doing this, doing that, and going to the grocery store. Plus, my wheelchair was this, that. Oh yeah, plus, my 2 kids doing this with my kids. It's just like, but it's life, and then it's a challenge, it's a struggle, but it's something that I love. I love my family, I love my kids, and I'm just gonna keep pushing forward. I want to try to make the best out of my situation, and again, even though it's not something I asked for, and I wish it's how things are. I still, I thank God that He gives me the breath of my, the air in my lungs every morning, that I get to get up and I have the strength and I have the power to do the things that I can do. So I thank God for my life, and I know God has a plan for everybody, and it's just staying focused on and keeping my faith in Him. And even though sometimes I feel like I'm taking the wrong direction or I'm going down the wrong pathway, if as long as I keep doing what's best that I can, and having my faith in God to get me through it, I believe, there's not challenges that I'm going to come up against that I know I can't handle, because that's what, I know He's going to do that for me. And that's anybody
And the
else
Bible
too.
says He will only give you what you can handle. You must have
Yeah.
been, and you must still be pretty strong.
Yeah, I know. It scares me sometimes. I'm like, I got to stop being so strong, because He's going to beat me down. No, but it's so true though, because it's such a true thing. Like, people, I honestly, it sounds, I don't know if it sounds wrong or right saying it that way, but it's like, yeah, we all have challenges. We all have our, deep struggles. And I'm not trying to say that it's so easy to be like, oh, God is going to get me through it. But, having that faith in Him, just even when things are tough, even when things are sad, and, you know, you don't think that believing's going to, having faith in God or not is going to change your situation. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
where that could be a struggle for people to think, what's the point of believing in God if it's going to keep getting worse?
Oh, that's a good point. There was something you said to me, this has been a few years. You said you wouldn't have changed what had happened to you because you wouldn't have had the opportunities that you've had. And that always stuck with me, because I thought, oh, dang, that's a good outlook, because of all the
Yeah.
foundations you've been a part of and just your life in general. And I'm sure you've had ups and downs throughout it. So,
Yeah. People talk about that. They say, they'll talk to me, and they'll look at my work van. They'll say, do you ever think about, what if that day, what if you would have aired up the tires, or what if you would have put new tires on that, this wouldn't happen? And I said, you know, I guess you can think of it like that, but I don't look at it that way myself, because I think that's kind of like, that's uh you're going back, and that's being hopeless, because that's not reality. Because if that never happened, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Everything that I've done, the life I lived. So to go back and say, what if you're saying that, it's like, to me, it's like you're trying to, for what? Like, what if? No, that's not. What if you weren't born? What if you were never born? We would have never known
right.
this. Like, so I guess people say that. It's like you said, would I go back? I'm like, no, I wouldn't, because I love my life and I love where I'm going, and you know what I'm saying? So I guess just by saying things like that to myself, or when people, like I said, that question, like, would you go back? It's like, no, I wouldn't, because I'm, that's like, that's like, by saying that to me is like saying, hey, well, if I could go back, man, my life would be so much better, but it couldn't be,
Because you
because
no
I'm
idea.
not disappointed
What
with
if
my
you would
life.
have been going down the wrong path? If it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Not that I mean, obviously, I'd love for you to be able to walk and do all the things, but
Yeah. And, that's why I say I would too, and who knows? It's not saying it ain't going to happen. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. I I I hope that there's a cure that comes out and I will walk again, but I'm definitely not going to wait for it. I'm going to keep living my life as, fully and as the best I can each day. So, when that day comes, it's just going to even get better, and along this way, because of the experience, because of what I've gone through, if I've got to make that positive impact in somebody's life, or if I've got to help someone get through their struggles because of, my
mm-hmm.
story, then it was all worth it.
Yeah. So I did read your book, and there was one part, I mean, there's many parts that I loved in it, but one part that really, really stuck out to me. So I want you to kind of explain what you were going through here. So you had just gone camping for your first time since kind of being
Mhm.
home, and the family camp out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Are you talking about the power
Yes.
chair?
And so you wheeled off
Yeah.
on your own, without anybody there, got on some path, and you were getting ready to go over a ledge.
Yeah, so we're going up this canyon. We've always gone up all the time, and as you're going down it, it's wide enough for my power chair, but it's on the left hand side of it. It's just a straight drop off down to the bottom of the creek, and it's a long drop, and it's all rocks and rocky. But I was going down, and so everyone was walking with me, but I just decided to get ahead of the group, and because I was in a little power chair, and I like to go as fast or whatever. I was just playing around, but so I got ahead of everybody, and I started going fast, and something happened where whether it was a rock or something, and it flipped my power chair left, and it went off the edge. Like, I mean, I literally was going off that cliff, and I still to this day I couldn't tell you what happened, but the power chair goes off this. Now here's the thing: once you come off this thing, there's like it's not like thing can back up it, but I don't understand it. It goes off it, but I feel something kind of come around me and pull me back, and then my wheelchair and the power chair all of a sudden sitting like turned all the way around, sitting there,
So
and I wait there for my.
the ledge is here. Your power chair is here. You're looking off the edge, and you feel something pull you back, and the power chair.
Yeah, well, I don't. Yeah, so it's just a strange feeling. So the the way that power chair went off, it was like it already was the front of it was coming off there. Like I could look down. I could look down. It was a straight down. So I thought, this is gonna, tumble or whatever like this. But something pulled it, and I was obviously had the joystick going to whenever I could do, but something just kind of twisted it around and pulled it back. And then I stop. I let go of everything. I stop. And then my family, my brother and those guys are like, "What the hell are you doing?" Because I'm walking or they're walking like, "You idiot," like that. But I was like, something saved my life right there. And I truly believe, that because like I said, if I would have, I mean, if I would have went off that thing, I would have smacked my face off rocks, tumbled. It was, hundreds of feet all the way to the bottom of this creek, and who knows if I would have even made it alive to the bottom. I mean, it's just it's a crazy story, and it was like, but something pulled me around and pulled me in the chair back up on there, flipped
Didn't
us
you
around.
think it was your uncle or something? At one point, you turned around to say thanks for helping, and
Yeah, well, I thought someone helped me pull me back because the thing is, it was like the way my chair, like it was going down, the way it was flipped around and like almost pointed back up. It's like you couldn't. Those guys, so my brother, my uncle, I can't remember who all was there. Those guys all had to help me twist my chair back around. And for those guys, it was like, how the hell did you get this turned around without falling off this thing? It wasn't like a. And I remember, like I said, I remember looking like I'm staring down at the downhill of this thing. So I was obviously pointed that way. So however it flipped back around and stuff like that. I mean, it happened so quick and so fast, but you're just like, I mean, I was like, you know,
Trying to
something,
process it.
yeah, it's just something happened in my life, and and I say that I was like, I think that God was there that day just to
Yeah.
just tell me, hey, slow down, stop it, slow down,
I think he says that
don't
to a
be,
lot of people. Slow down, and
yeah, slow down a
yeah,
little bit.
because we're in a fast-paced world anymore.
Yeah,
Hmm.
we are, and I think there's just yeah, and I think people again, I think people have miracles happen to them all the time, and they just that's not the only one. I think just everything that I've done, I mean, opportunities, things like that. I think I wouldn't be here to where I am without, my faith and the miracles that I've had provided for me.
Yeah. And do you think now, like after this has all happened, are your eyes just more open and you're more aware of God and how He's working in your life and you know instances like that? Like I just feel like the old Denise, I didn't see like certain signs God was trying to show me, and now I'm finally aware. It's just
Yeah,
nice to like have that.
yeah, it is. And I think, for miracles in my own life, it's like when I got paralyzed, that with my injury, even before even the so going back into my life, like with I lost control of my bodily functions. So when I got my sexual function and all that stuff back, I still wasn't able to have children. I can't have children. And so, but I did go through to try it out. We did go through in vitro, and that's where I say, two miracles of mine are my kids. Things that you know
Yeah.
that, like I said, the doctor told me, look, these aren't possible for you. You're not going to have these things. You're not going to get this, and uh, so maybe like when you're talking about things, it's not even just a miracle doesn't have to be one that saves your life. It's just, the things that he's provided for me that, like I said, I mean, but I look at it as a miracle every day because, you know, tomorrow is not guaranteed for nobody. And the fact that, that I wake up and I have air in my lungs and I breathe and I can get out of bed, I'm like, I thank God. I have a daily, people read the Bibles and stuff, but I have a daily um, devotional thing that I read every morning before I get up, and it's just it's just like I said, I like to wake up with a morning of that, put my head in the thought process to say, you know what, thank you Jesus for today, and let's do it. Even though some days feel like I went through hell, but it's just a mindset that when you're talking about how I, you know, recognize that, that's what I feel like. I feel like I recognize my life as, it's just a grateful thing to do. And I want to wake every day up trying to be in that positivity, how the day ends, I can't tell you, but that's how I start
Oh,
them.
and I think that's good. I think that's how we're supposed to start, is in the word or devotional. I think that's what we're supposed to do. I don't always do it. I need to.
Yeah. That's the thing too, is like, sometimes, that's another, why God is so good. It's like, I do say, I do forget to pray. Some days I do forget to read my scriptures or my devotions, and I do forget that, and sometimes I do. I do sin every day. I mean, I am a sinner, and so it's just something I can try to work on better myself. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I wish I was a better person doing that, but I still like to wake myself up in the idea of
Right.
Thanking God that I have the next
Did you
day
ever
for it.
feel God's presence in the hospital at all? Did you feel, or were you just kind of going through the motion of just get to it?
Honestly, no, I don't think I felt God's presence in the hospital. I mean, I want to say I did. I want to say I did, but it was such a, you know, honestly, when I think, it's hard to think about it. I know I prayed in the hospital. People came over to you and they'd pray over you and things like that. But sometimes I want to feel like I was praying,
Yeah.
for hope. I was praying for just, not in a, not, I don't know. I just, plus I had so much depression and fear in my life, So how I went through the hospital, how I went through this, it was, God was in my life. Obviously, I know He was. God was in my life, but you know, I, I think I felt my presence with Him, as He got me through that. But I just, during that time, it was just something that I can't really say that's where I was.
Right.
I was focused on that. He was just there for me.
Right. No, I get it. No,
I'm sure it's all like in stages too, like stages of grief.
Yeah. Well, and grief, but like the thing is like, and maybe it's because of the experiences that I've had, but when I grieve now and when I go through these situations, I give thanks to God. I give thanks for my life and things like that. The same thing. It's like, if I could go back now, if I was paralyzed, like, yeah, thanks God. That was a good one. Like, I'm paralyzed, but dang, like, it's like, I don't want to say that I'm happy about my troubles, but I am just really blessed, and I'm grateful that I go through my life, good or bad, with God. I mean, that's something that from my experience where I'm at, I feel that's how I've grown in that way. And I still have so much more, so much more of a better person I could be, and more uh, focused on God. Obviously, I could do that every day, just like you were saying. But I know that's because of my experiences and because of where I am today. That is definitely um, all because of this.
Well, that's what I enjoy about you, is because you're real. You're not gonna sugarcoat anything. You're gonna say it how it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing. There's not much to. I'm saying there's not much that I've talked about in my life, because I'm telling you, I've got stories that are just nightmares, and my whole life sometimes I feel like is very vulnerable and talking about it, but I don't want to try to have to hide something from it, because I feel like vulnerability, talking about yourself in a vulnerable way, is a hard thing to do. and obviously I still have that same, you know, that same concern, I think, like everybody else. But I feel like when I can open myself up, and if I can feel very vulnerable about my story, very my life, saying, hey, I'm not trying to pretend this. I mean, this is real. This is who I am. This is what I felt. This is what I'm feeling now. And if I can say that to somebody, or somebody can hear that, then I feel like they can be a lot more vulnerable to themselves, or, it makes a better, or a better, I hope it makes a bigger impact for them. I hope it's better for everybody else. I don't do that. I don't want to sit there to do these things to embarrass myself or feel, more insecure. It's just because I feel I'm very confident with myself and what it is, and I'm proud of the outcome. And I think everybody else can have that same type of life. It's just really being, you know, real with yourself or with other people, because that's how you get that support. That's how I've got so much strong support, and I've had so many amazing people who's impacted my life. But I feel like I've, and a lot of times in a wheelchair, I can't hide that, because when you look at me, you already see, all right, this guy's in a wheelchair. These are, people reach out to help me. And so my struggle is
Right.
already identified. People, I can sit here and look at you girls, and you can hide whatever struggle you're going through behind your beautiful smile. You have a smile on your face. People can have that pretty smile, and you have no idea, but they could be going through something that's 10 times harder than what I'm doing.
That's a good perspective. They can see what you're going through for the most part, not everything. As you know,
No, I'll tell you a quick story. This guy in the gym that I go to the gym with, he comes in there all the time. He's always, we see each other all the time in the gym, and, he's always like, man, I'm so proud. I'm so inspired. I get that all the time. Oh, you're such an inspiration coming in here. You're doing this, you're doing that. And him and I were talking, and one day he comes in there and we're talking, and he's like, I'll tell you something. He's like, I'm so proud of you. He's like, you just give me a reason to believe in myself. I'm like, oh, so how's things going with you? He's like, well, I'll tell you. He's like, I just hit the year mark. And I was like, oh, what's happened? He's like, well, a year ago, my daughter died. And then his daughter died. And then 6 months later, his wife divorced him, and he lost his house, lost his job. And I'm sitting there going like, well, damn. I'm like, I can tell you this. I wouldn't trade my wheelchair for that. So what he was going through, like, in my opinion, was 10 times harder. And I mean, I can't imagine that feeling. I can't imagine where he's at. I can't imagine the struggles that he's going through. And you never would know that about somebody. You wouldn't know what somebody's dealing with. Like I said, the difference is with mine, you can see it. And so people are automatically, hey, Dustin, what can we do for you? What can we do for this guy? I've never said, hey, what can I do for you? But now I'm like, man, is there anything I can do to help you? Because you want to try to help out people when they need that. But you see, mine is just an automatic. People look at me, they feel sorry for me. They want to help me out this, they want to do that. And with me, I'm an open book, and I can talk to people. If I need help, I'll take it, and I'm a very appreciative of help. So, I think maybe people actually enjoy helping me because I'm so grateful for it. And, but again, that's just because you can look at me and you think already that I need it. And so people
right.
are automatically
Well, and
going
I
out of their
think
way to help
people
me.
have this fulfillment of helping somebody. Like, I love to help people. So when I have the opportunity, it makes not only that person better, but it fulfills me. So do you feel like that's kind of what you go through too, Dustin? Like, now you're able to, like that guy, you're able to help him in a way by being an ear, by listening.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, going back to it, that's where I feel like if I get to share my story, like I said, being vulnerable, saying these things, is because being vulnerable, that guy told me something that, he doesn't go around sharing his story, but I don't get that opportunity. My story is being shared when I'm rolling around the store in my wheelchair. Still, people see me at Smith's pushing my cart, loading groceries through a wheelchair and putting it in the back of my car. They're like, oh wow, you're so inspiring. But it's like, I'm just living, man. I'm just doing my life. And they look at it like that. So that's where I get more empathy. I get more people, like I said, people like, oh, you're such an inspiration. But this guy here, what he went through, what he's going through now, I, you know, how he's continuing to get up in the morning every day,
Mhm.
because you lose your kid. And I didn't get too into it, but his wife divorced him. It wasn't because they hated each other, but they just lost their daughter, and they couldn't focus. I mean, he lost his job, and it wasn't because, I mean, I don't know why, what happened with this, but it just shows you, I mean, that the struggles are there, and that's why I said sharing my story. It's not even I didn't even share, like, he hasn't heard my story as much as I told you guys. The only story that I got to share with him is what he sees me get out of my car in the morning, go into the gym, and it's freezing cold outside, snow. I got snow in my hands. I'm trying to get through the snow, getting in there, and that's my story. People just get to watch me
Well, and if people
live a
didn't
story.
know today,
And
Dustin was late jumping on because he was on the 4-wheeler. Plowing.
yeah,
And his
my
4-wheeler,
story.
it wouldn't
Yeah,
start, right? So then you had brother.
yeah. Well, the battery was dead. And yeah, it's the thing is I've got so many stories like that, but like to me, it's just I don't know. It's like that's what, again, like that. People were all willing to help me out and do this kind of stuff, but if that happened to, and the reason they're helping me out, do you know why? Because I'm in a wheelchair. It's because I'm in a wheelchair, and that's not to say that so you automatically get that extra help. You get that. So again, my day today is a story that someone like, oh man, that's inspiring, but that's not inspiring. It's just I have good people around me. I have great people in my life that as
I
I'm going
also
through my
feel like
struggle.
I also feel like some of that is just the person you are. Like I can tell you're a good and appreciative person, and so people want to help people who are going to appreciate it.
Yeah.
So
Oh
I'm
no,
sure
for sure.
that is also why you get the extra help, because that makes a difference in your
Yeah.
attitude.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
I think that's
I'm like,
you're
I know him,
100%
the
right.
attitude.
No, she thinks there's a lot of struggles with it, but it's true though. I mean, I think people have people want to help out people that are appreciative of it. It's the same thing. Like you want to help out people, and again, it's just the people you surround yourself with. You surround yourself with good people. You surround yourself with uh,
Right.
people that want to help out. Just like Randy said, you want to help out people. And it makes it just makes more opportunities. It's a good thing.
All right. So Denise needs to jump off. So we're gonna have you on.
Okay,
Many
yeah.
times. I didn't ask you, remember I told you that. No.
Yeah, no, it's good. There's so many conversations we could talk about. This is a good way to kind
You
of,
know,
uh,
over this whole podcast
open up.
thing, it has I've just gotten so much closer to you again, Dustin, just by talking to you, always on the phone. Dustin, what do we do here? Dustin, and then instead of texting
Yeah,
call,
Yes, thank you for all your help.
but I
and
don't
I'm
know
on
what
the
I'm
phone
doing.
for a good 30 minutes, and it's awesome. I love it. So I'm grateful for you and your expertise of just talking, just not
Expertise.
knowledge.
No,
You're not
awesome.
there.
Yeah, thank you
All
guys
right,
so
we'll
much. I
talk to you
appreciate
later,
it.
Dustin. I'll let you know when we'll have you back any day. Actually, if you want. All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good,
All
guys. I
right.
hope you
Thank
guys
See
have
you
a
you
good
later.
so
rest of the
much.
day.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.